Hey y'all, we are back with another video this week, and this week we are going to be canning some tomato sauce and also some bread and butter pickles. I had so many tomatoes and peppers in my garden this week that I knew I needed to do something with them to get them put up before they went bad. And it just so happened that the people from that 1870s Homestead were making, I believe the video is called the Ultimate Garden Medley Pasta Sauce, and really she just showed a method for how to use what you have on hand to make pasta sauce. And I thought, I want to try that, because so many times I've gone to make something and turned up maybe 3 pounds too short of tomatoes, and I think, well, can I make this? Can I not make this? But she showed how to do it with what she had on hand, and it looked so awesome that I really wanted to try it. So I am going to show you guys how we did that, and I'm also going to link below to the video that they posted. Just to be clear, they do not have any idea who we are. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but we do love their channel and have gotten so much useful, practical information, particularly in regards to storing the produce that you work hard to grow. So please be sure to check that out. Their channel is a wealth of information, and yeah, so I'm going to take you along on how we did ours, and I hope you guys enjoy. We'll see you soon. Take a quick look at the things that we have to put in our sauce. We've got a bunch of cherry tomatoes and little yellow pear tomatoes. We've also got some lemon squash, some bell peppers, some lunchbox peppers and jalapenos. And then we have more tomatoes. These are Kentucky beefsteaks, and as you can see, these things are huge. I showed these in our garden tour video, and they are just gigantic. We definitely will grow those again. The ones on the table still need a couple days to ripen up, so they won't go in the sauce today. But I do have some cherry tomatoes that we picked a few days ago. They have been hanging out in the freezer for us. So I'm just going to get to work. Everything's already been washed. I'm just going to get to work chopping things up and putting into the pot. You don't need to worry about taking the peels off of these tomatoes, because we're going to use an immersion blender to blend everything up at the end. So that saves us a ton of time. So I'm going to get to work. So we just got done putting all of our ingredients into the stock pot. This is a 23 quart pressure cooker, but it's the biggest stock pot that I have. So I am going to put everything in here, and we're just going to go ahead and put it on probably about medium high until everything gets good and boiling, and then I will turn it down and just let it simmer on low until I'm ready to move on to the next step. We just got the tomato sauce onto the stove, and I figured since that's going to be going probably most of the day that I would go ahead and work on a batch of pickles in the meantime. Yesterday we picked 8 pounds of pickles, and that's just enough to make a batch of the bread and butter pickles from the Ball book of canning and preserving. So I'm going to get to work on that. We have been really pleased with the variety of cucumbers we grew this year called Wisconsin SMR. I did grow 2 other varieties, and last year I grew a couple other varieties in addition to the ones we're doing this year, but this has by far been the best ones. It is August 7th today, and to date we have now done about 80 pounds of pickles this year. So we're really excited about that, and I'm going to go ahead and get to work cutting up the pickles and the onions so that I can let them rest in salt for a few hours before we start the canning process. I wanted to show you guys something that has really helped make the canning process go a lot quicker for me, and it's this little chopper slicer that I got off of Amazon, and it has this blade called the garnish slicer. So basically what I do is I will take the ends off of my cucumbers and then cut them about in half, and then I run them through this garnish slicer, and it already does all the slicing for me. Everything's even, and I also use that for the onions too. Now the things that get on this edge of the blade, obviously they'll come out not quite as wide as the ones that go in the middle portion, but that's okay. We don't mind it at all. So yeah, I just wanted to share that quick tip with you guys, and I'm gonna get back to work here. So I wanted to show you guys how this little chopper that I mentioned earlier makes such quick work of getting the pickle ingredients ready for the canning process. But before I do that, I had mentioned to you guys how on the sides there's 2 smaller blades. Whenever that happens, we really don't worry about it because we use our leftover pickle brine to make salad dressing, and those little bits will get left down in the jar, and then when we make our salad dressing, by just putting equal amounts of oil, you can use olive oil or avocado oil in with however much brine, and then you shake it up and pour it on your salad. Those little bits of pickles and onions are so yummy in your salad. So I don't worry about that at all. But basically, once I get everything, the ends chopped off, and then I cut them into manageable sections, I just get going. And we'll get in closer so you guys can see how it works. I try to line up as much as I can with that middle blade, but as I said, sometimes it goes over, and that's okay. And then I'll shake it once it starts to get a little bit full. That one I'll need to cut one more time. All right, probably do one more, and that's it. So I can plow through this whole bucket in just a matter of minutes by using this little chopper. So that's just one tip that I have that makes it a lot easier and quicker for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up these cucumbers, and then I'll get started on the onions. Okay, so I just timed myself, and from start to finish, after I had already cut the ends off of these cucumbers and put them into big chunks to process them through this slicer, it took me 2 minutes to go through 8 pounds, which is completely awesome. So now I have got 4 pounds of onions to go through, and I'll check back in with y'all when I get that done. Just a quick check-in before I get started on the onions. I have had this going on, actually I put it on almost high heat. So I've had this going for about 15 minutes or so now, and you can see that it's already gotten about, I wouldn't say quite halfway reduced in size yet, but I'm going to go ahead and turn this down just a little bit, and we are going to be prepared to let this simmer for several hours. So we will keep you updated on the process as that goes, but right now I'm just going to turn it down probably to about medium high and see how that goes. So I figured I'd show you guys in real time how long it takes me to do these onions. This is 4 pounds of onions. It just turned 131, so I'll go ahead and get started on these. And I do cut these into quarters or 6, depending on how big the onions are. So they go through super duper easy. Again, I try to keep it mostly on the middle part if I'm able. Sometimes I'm not able, and that's okay. So, oh, I had a lot more room to go on that one. That's all right. You just always want to make sure that the lid is seated. There's a little lip on the back that fits in, and that helps make it go a lot more smoothly too, because the lid is not wiggling back and forth. And this is the second season that I've used this little chopper, and it has been a game changer. I love it. It's held up really well, and I even use it like on my weeknight cooking. It just makes so much lighter work out of all of the chopping that needs to be done. Coming in on the home stretch here. And I'll just put these things and then the ones right here through. And that's it. It's 1:32 now, so it took about, I'd say, a minute and a half to get this done. So I'm going to keep moving forward here. I am going to get these things salted and let them rest for about an hour and a half, and then I'll come back for the next step to show you guys. Just a quick look into our pantry here. These are some of the pickles that we canned this year already. We have eaten a lot of them already, and also we've given several jars away. So basically it is nothing for us to empty one of these jars at a meal with 6 people in our family who really like pickles. But we're actually going to have both varieties that I've canned for lunch today. We have got some bread and butter pickles here and here, and then these are some dill pickles. So I will show you guys what they look like whenever we get our plates ready. All right, we are just checking back in really quickly. It's been about, I'd say close to 5 hours since we've had this simmering. I did end up turning it down to low because we went to have a nap, and I didn't want it getting burnt or going too far while we were taking our nap. So this is what it looks like now, and I am really satisfied with this. In fact, I think that I'm just going to keep it simmering on low, and I'm going to work on these cucumbers that I had shown earlier. I'm going to go ahead and get those canned up, and then I'm going to puree this, season it, and get it ready for the canner after the pickles are done. Right now I am getting ready to make the brine for our bread and butter pickles, and again, the recipe I use is in the Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving, and it's just their bread and butter pickle recipe. So basically it just has vinegar, sugar, mustard seed, celery seed, ginger, turmeric, and black pepper in it. And you don't add any additional salt to this recipe because of the fact that the pickles are salted beforehand. So you soak them with the onions in a salt solution for at least an hour and a half beforehand, and then rinse them, and that makes them plenty salty enough. So I'm just gonna keep working on this, and I'll get back with you in just a minute. I will say that I think it's best to make a little extra of the brine in this recipe. Anytime that I've made exactly the amount that I need for the recipe, it always comes up to be just a little bit short. So I like to, for example, today I have enough cucumbers to make a double batch. I'll actually make a triple batch of the brine, and that way I know that I'm going to have enough to can all of my pickles. And anything left over, sometimes I can it, but I'll also sometimes just put it in the refrigerator and use it for salad dressing too. So I'm going to keep working on this. So I just got my pickles off the stove. I let them come up to a boil in the brine, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and put some pickle crisp in my jars. This just helps keep the pickles really nice and crispy, just like the day you picked them. And then I'm going to fill them up and get the canner filled up and start processing them. Whoops, I grabbed the jar that was not open yet. So we've got our jars filled up, and I've just got the water heating up right now, but I'm going to go ahead and put the jars into the canner as it comes up to a boil, and then I'll lower my rack down whenever it comes to a boil and start the processing time. We are really happy with the way that the tomato sauce has kind of just reduced. It's getting a lot thicker here, and you can see that there are peels floating around in the top of that, but that's not going to be a problem at all, because right now I'm getting ready to take my immersion blender and blend all of this up. So that is one thing I really love about this idea from that 1870s Homestead, because I don't have to spend all the time sitting here and peeling the tomatoes beforehand. I can just pop everything ready in when I'm ready to make a batch and move forward from there. So I'm going to go ahead and start to puree. I've got my immersion blender right here, so I'll try to keep it where you guys can see what I'm doing. Wow, that looks so awesome. Looks like we just about got everything pureed up, so that's great. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this continue to simmer. I will check back in just a little bit when I put the seasonings in and let you guys know what we decide to put in it. But for right now, I'm just waiting on these pickles to come up to a boil so I can lower the canning rack and start the processing time, and we'll check back in with you guys in just a minute. I've got 5 minutes left on the pickle processing time, and that will be just enough time for me to go ahead and season this tomato sauce. So initially I thought that I would like to put some herbs in it, but instead of doing that, I think I'm going to keep it pretty basic, and that way I can use this sauce for a variety of different things. I can put it in chili, I can make pizza sauce, I can make spaghetti sauce. So the things I think I'm going to put in there are pretty much the 3 seasonings I put in any sort of dish that I cook that's not a dessert dish. I love salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. So I think that's what I'm going to do, and I'm really just going to eyeball it here. I'm guessing that was probably somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 cup of pink Himalayan salt. This is onion powder. And you'll notice that we get a lot of our spices in bulk, so we get them from Frontier Co-op. If you go on their website, it's wholesale.frontiercoop.org or .com. I can't remember which one. I'll post a link in the bottom. But there you can search to find a co-op in your area, and we really like it because the prices are so inexpensive, and they really have a ton of great natural products and organic herbs and spices for really great prices. So I'm just going to go ahead and stir this up right now, and then I'm going to take a little taste test to see what I think. Oh my goodness, I wish you guys could smell this. It smells so good. We already took a taste test before we put any seasonings, and it was so nice. It tasted really fresh. The acid from the tomatoes was just totally on point, and then the peppers really came through nicely as well. So it tastes really good. That is good. I'm gonna put a little bit more salt. Oh, that is so good. You want to taste, babe?
Yep.
Awesome. So this is good to go. We are just going to leave this sit on warm while I finish the pickles. I have a couple more jars that I need to process on that. Then when I'm all done with the pickles and have those put up to cool down, I'm going to start getting the tomato sauce canned and ready for the canner. So I'm about to start the second batch of pickles for the canner right now. I'm just going ahead and doing the same things I did before, where I put the pickle crisp in, put the pickles in, pop the air bubbles, and wipe the rims, put the lids on, and get them back in the canner. Now, as expected, we did have a little bit of extra brine left over, but instead of canning it, I'm just going to put it in the refrigerator in a jar, and we will have it on hand to use for salad dressing. So I'm going to go ahead and get these pickles back in the canner, and I'm going to work on getting tidied up here before we jar up the tomato sauce. I thought there might be a chance that I would have some questions about this board that you see. And I thought people would probably want to know where I got the cutting board at, but it's actually a flat top stove cover. So if you can see underneath here, it has little legs, and we just set that on the top of our flat top stove whenever it's not in use. That way, in case something falls on it when somebody's putting something in the microwave, then it won't break. But you can actually use it as a cutting board. I've done that a couple times, but the thing I love it most for is when I'm canning, because it's gigantic. It can hold a ton of jars while they're cooling down. And also, I don't have to worry about, like when I bring my hot pots over here, I'll set the pot on this side and then empty jars on this side as I'm filling. I don't have to worry about it burning my tabletop or even using pot holders. I can just put it straight down on there. It's fine. It wipes down really easy. So this is very awesome. If you've got a flat top stove, I don't think it would work if you had an electric range, and definitely not if you had a gas top range. But if you've got a flat top range, this is really great. I got it off Amazon, and I will try to find the link to that and put it below in the description box for anybody who's interested. So we are finally ready to get this tomato sauce in the jars and get it canned. So I am actually going to get some lemon juice out and put 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in every jar. And then I'm going to fill them up, put the lids on, and get them back in the canner. All right, so this is what we ended up with today. We got 10 quarts of the tomato sauce, and we got 14 quarts of the bread and butter pickles. I think next time when I do the tomato sauce, these are the ones that I ran through the canner. These I'm just gonna put in the refrigerator because we're probably gonna make chili or meat sauce with those to use in the next day or two. So I didn't fire up the canner for one last round just for those because we're gonna use them soon. But one thing that the people from that 1870s Homestead did that I did not do with their sauce was add tomato paste to it to make it thicker. I wanted to see what it would look like without it, and you can see that there is about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of liquid down at the bottom of the jars, so I don't want to move them around too much because I just took them out of the canner. But I think I will do that next time. Either way, I'm super excited about all that we got done today. So thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to us. If you are enjoying our channel, or if you enjoyed this video, we would be so happy if you would subscribe to our channel so that you can stay tuned with the latest happenings here on our homestead. And we will see you next time. God bless.